Everybody knows that Mahatma Gandhi was a votary of village panchayats, but he was a little utopian in his thinking. I'm sorry to be finding fault with the Mahatma, but I'm saying there are 2-3 mistakes. The next quotation is from B.R. Ambedkar. What is a village but a sink of localism, a den of ignorance, narrow-mindedness and communalism? I personally agree with Ambedkar's view. And after the melavalavu incident, the SCs were scared. Nobody filed nominations. Jayalalitha deputed O. Pannisalvam and 3 other ministers to these 4 villages to persuade them, but they refused to listen. Mr. Karnanidhi became the chief minister, took it as a challenge, especially for mayor and chairpersons of local bodies. I think direct election is better. 77 MGR vandare. 77 to 86 he didn't conduct elections because he thought election conduct panna the DMK alanga anginga vandruvanuga. The government was ADMK, Jayalalitha was the chief minister, Madurai district panchayat chairman DMK alana, Madurai district kali. Jayalalitha was in hospital and things were shaky. So இவங்க அந்த எலெக்ஷன் நடத்தல. வேணுட்டே ஒரு மிஸ்டேக் பண்றது ரிசர்வேஷன்ல ஒருத்தங்கிட்ட கோர்ட்டுக்கு போய் நீ ஸ்டே வாங்கிறேன்னு சொல்றது. For 5 years they didn't conduct elections. ஒரு பிளாக் ஆஃபீஸில் நிறைய பணம் இருந்தது. இவனுக்கு டெய்லி காலையில் இந்த பிடிஓ அந்த ஸ்டாஃபோட வேலை இதுதான். இன்னைக்கு என்ன பொய் பில் போட்டு பணம் எடுத்துடலாப்பா அப்படியம்மா சார், இன்னைக்கு தேல் கடி மருந்து வாங்கின மாதிரி போட்டுடலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி ஒரு 10 லட்சம் போடு, நாளைக்கு பாம்பு கடி மருந்து. There are 3 block panchayat chairmen. Tiruvallur was a DMK man, Thithuraipoondi was a communist guy, Papanasam was a Congress guy. Outstanding fellows, அவ்வளவு capable fellows நான் பார்த்ததில்லை. வலங்கைமான்ல கரப்ட் சேர்மன் was there. ஆதித்யரோட குரூப் ஹவுசஸ் 3 வருஷம் ஆச்சு கட்டல, பணம் வந்தது, சேர்மன் அவன் பொண்ணு கல்யாணத்துக்கு யூஸ் பண்ணிட்டான். டிக்கெட் வாங்குறதுக்கே கொஞ்சம் ஸ்மார்ட்டா இருக்கணும், எலெக்ட் ஆகிறதுக்கு இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் ஸ்மார்ட்டா இருக்கணும். படு தத்திங்கெல்லாம் can become BDOs or municipal commissioners. Real threat to our existence is not nuclear bombs, அதெல்லாம் கிடையாது. The real threat is, now there are many people who foolishly think that we should stop villages migrating to cities. அது பண்ண முடியாது. Even President Abdul Kalam is a good man, great man no doubt, but he came up with a harebrained idea called Pura. It gives me great pleasure to be here to deliver the Professor Venkatarangam endowment lecture. Let me ask you a small question relating to history. Apart from the fact that they were all great freedom fighters, what is common to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, C. Rajagopalachari, Tandai Periyar and Subhash Chandra Bose? Anybody? They were all chairpersons of municipalities before they became national leaders. Jawaharlal Nehru was chairman of Allahabad municipality. Sardar Patel was chairman of Ahmedabad municipality. Rajagopalachari was chairman of Salem municipality. Tandai Periyar was chairman of Erode municipality. And Subhash Chandra Bose was mayor of Kolkata. The post of mayor or chairman of an urban local body has traditionally been the stepping stone to higher office. As you know, our present Chief Minister, Mr. M.K. Stalin, used to be mayor of Chennai. Boris Johnson, the former UK Prime Minister, he was mayor of London for many years. Between 1974 and 2017, 5 presidents of France, their names are quite difficult to pronounce, Valéry Giscard d'Estaing, François Mitterrand, Nicolas Sarkozy, Jacques Chirac and François Hollande. These 5 people had earlier been mayors, if not of Paris, of some other big French town. So the short point here is that being a mayor of a big city, especially the capital city, is the stepping stone to higher office. I'm not sure if all of you are aware of this bit of history. You are sitting in a university which is the oldest university in the country. Madras University, along with Mumbai and Calcutta, was set up in 1857. You are also living in a town which is the oldest corporation in India. Madras Corporation was founded in 1687. Bombay and Calcutta were founded much later. So there's some history for you. Now, coming to this, I'm sure as students of political science, you're aware of this. We have a central government or union government at the top. We have state government, then we have local governments. In local governments, there are 2 types, rural local bodies and urban local bodies. Rural local bodies, you have village panchayats, you have intermediate panchayats. In Tamil Nadu, the intermediate panchayat is the block. In Karnataka, the intermediate panchayat is the taluk. In Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, the intermediate panchayat is a mandal. But in most states, the intermediate panchayat is a block panchayat. And then you have district panchayats. So these are one above the other, village panchayat, block panchayat and district panchayat. Regarding urban local bodies, they are not one above the other, they are at the same level. The difference is only in size. Town panchayats are small, municipalities are medium, and municipal corporations are very big. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of this. This is a very, very famous quotation about the village panchayats in India by a gentleman called Charles Metcalfe. He used to be Governor General of India in the first half of the 19th century. In fact, before the IAS Officers Training Academy moved to Mussoorie, presently it's called the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration. Before it moved here, it used to be in Delhi, and it used to be called the Metcalfe House. It was named after Charles Metcalfe. So he was a very eminent person, and he somehow took a fancy to the village panchayats in India. This is a famous quotation of his. He says, "The village communities are little republics. They seem to last where nothing else does. Dynasty after dynasty tumbles down. Revolution succeeds to revolution. Hindu, Pathan, Mughal, Maratha, Sikh and English are all masters in turn, but the village communities remain the same." This union of the village communities, each one forming a separate little state in itself, has, I conceive, contributed more than any other cause to the preservation of the people of India, and in a high degree conducive to their happiness and to the enjoyment of a great portion of freedom and independence. This is often quoted. Next, I am telling you a quotation from Mahatma Gandhi. Everybody knows that Mahatma Gandhi was a votary of village panchayats, but he was a little utopian in his thinking, not very practical. Now, this is what Mahatma Gandhi said in 1942. "My idea of village Swaraj is that it is a complete republic. The government of the village will be conducted by a panchayat of 5 persons, annually elected by adult villagers, male and female, possessing minimum prescribed qualifications. These will have all the authority and jurisdiction required. This panchayat will be the legislature, judiciary and executive combined to operate for its year of office. Here there is perfect democracy based upon individual freedom." So this is Mahatma Gandhi's quotation. There are 2-3 mistakes here. I'm sorry to be finding fault with the Mahatma, but I'm saying there are 2-3 mistakes. One is what is called separation of powers. You should never have the executive, legislative, executive and judicial powers combined in one body. As students of political science, I'm sure you know that. And you know that village panchayats, especially you have this institution called Kap panchayats throughout the country, they can be quite oppressive, because they are still outmoded in their thinking. They can be superstitious, casteist. So giving too much power to village panchayats may not be a great idea. The next quotation is from B.R. Ambedkar. He says, "What is a village but a sink of localism, a den of ignorance, narrow-mindedness and communalism?" Ambedkar had a very dim view of villages. He said, all this talk about the romantic village, the simple villager, all this is bull. He said, no, the villagers are ignorant, narrow-minded, superstitious, casteist, and no progress can happen in villages. So he strongly disagreed with Gandhi on this point. Now, as you know, Mahatma Gandhi died in January 1948 when the constitution was still being framed. Perhaps if Gandhiji had been alive, he would have influenced things more. But after he passed away, the other Constitution Assembly members, especially Nehru and Ambedkar, who had a dim view of village panchayats and village they said, no, let's not have village panchayats. Okay? So that's why you will find, and between Gandhi's view and Ambedkar's view, I personally agree with Ambedkar's view. Now, this is a news item which you must have seen sometime back in 2020. It says, Dalit woman president made to sit on floor during official meeting. This happened in Kadalur. This happened in 2020. If things were so bad in 2020, you can imagine how they must have been in 1947. I don't know if you might have been very young or may not have been born. There was this infamous melavalavu massacre in Madurai. What had happened was, Melavalavu was a village near Madurai. The post of president had been reserved for Dalits. The caste Hindus didn't want the Dalits to contest. They threatened them, saying, don't contest. The Dalits didn't bother. They contested. One day, while they were going in a bus, the president, the vice president, and 4 members, all Dalits, were massacred. In fact, I remember going there to see the grave. You might have heard of these 4 infamous villages: Pappapatti, Keeripatti, Natarmangalam, and Kottakachiyendan. Pappapatti, Keeripatti, and Natarmangalam were village panchayats in Madurai district. Kotakachi Endel was a village panchayat in Vardhan district. Now here again, the caste Hindus threatened the SC. Those in these four villages, the post of village panchayat president had been reserved for SC. But the caste Hindus didn't like it because most of these SCs were agriculture laborers, whereas the caste Hindus were the landowners. They couldn't stomach the idea of an agriculture laborer, that too a Dalit being the president. So they threatened them saying, don't contest. And after the melavalavu incident, the SCs were scared, so nobody filed nominations for the elections. This kept on happening because every 6 months the State Election Commission would notify the election, but nobody would file. It didn't come to the government's notice for nearly 5 years. Sometime around 2001, government realized that there is a problem. But again and again, these caste Hindus would threaten the Dalits. Then what happened, at one point of time, the Dalit party leaders used to go there and say, "Nee dhairiyama nillu, nanga paathukrom," and all that. So some fellows filed the nomination, but then they were threatened and made to withdraw the nomination before the last date for withdrawal. On several occasions, they filed the nomination, the election took place, the president got elected, but he was threatened, and on the day of the results were declared, the presidents were made to resign. In one instance, the president was made to resign 5 days after the thing happened. So 17 times this exercise took place, and each time it ended in failure. Jayalalitha deputed O. Pannisalvam and 3 other ministers to these 4 villages to persuade them, but they refused to listen. So in 2006, the government changed. Mr. Karnanidhi became the chief minister. Mr. Stalin was the Minister for Rural Development and Local Administration. I was the Secretary Rural Development. So we took it as a challenge that we will conduct the elections. 17 attempts, previous attempts had failed, but we said in the 18th attempt, we are going to succeed. That time, the collector at Madurai was a gentleman called T. Uday Chandran. He is now the Secretary to the CM. The collector of Vardhan was a gentleman called S.S. Jawar. He is now retired. Now, the 3 of us had discussions as to how we would go about it. Now, as you know, government has got enormous powers, but government doesn't always exercise its powers. In this case, we decided that we will find out who the troublemakers are, what their weaknesses are, and then arm twist them. You know, this kind of tactics keep happening day in and day out. So, for example, 2 of the ringleaders we found had wives who were working as assistant engineers in Twad board. So they were summoned and told, "Marubadi tholla panniyana, your wife will go to Kanyakumari, your wife will go to Ooty." They said, "Illa nammala aala vidunga," appadinu solli back adishitaanga. Some other fellow was constructing a building without approval in Madurai. So he was warned saying, "Nanga nenacha immediate idikka mudiyum, idikalama." He said, "Illa vidunga." Then idhe mari ovvorthroda weakness paathu avana madaki, we made sure that the elections went off smoothly. But then we are still afraid that within 1 day or 5 days or 1 week or 1 month, these fellows will threaten the village panchayat presidents and make them resign. So I hit upon the idea of organizing a function in Chennai where CM, Mr. Stalin, and all party representatives were present, and the president, vice president, members of these 4 village panchayats were brought to Chennai, and they were given a pep talk in a function. We also sanctioned 20 lakhs to these 4 village panchayats, special grant. And I passed a particular order which I think made a lot of difference. I passed an order saying for the first 6 months, the BDO and the Tahsildar will attend as observers for the village panchayat meeting, because in their presence, so this was the function that we had in Chennai. This was called Samatva Peruvila. You can see me in the corner, looking younger and thinner those days. So this function, after this, the problem got solved, and never again we had a problem of Dalits being harassed. Now there is one more problem in village panchayats, that is women. There are many women panchayat presidents, but the de facto president is the husband or father or brother. You know, advance blank check la kailthu vaangite and the husband vechikuvan. In fact, there is even a Hindi serial called Panchayat. I don't know, many of you have seen it. If you have not seen it, please see it. That lady in red is the president, The chap in blue shirt is her husband, so he's the de facto president. I remember a funny incident happened that when I was Secretary of Rural Development, there was a block panchayat meeting. The member was actually the woman, but her husband was sitting in the meeting. The others didn't object also. I remember ஆவேசமாக பேசிட்டுருக்கான் மீட்டிங்கில். சன் டிவியில் இந்த வீடியோ எடுத்து போட்டு விட்டாங்க. Then we gave a notice to that woman and told her that we will dismiss you next time your husband comes to attend meetings on your behalf. Now, the reason why I am saying all this is, between Gandhi and Ambedkar, Ambedkar was correct in this matter. He knew that in 1940s, India was not prepared to give too much importance to village panchayats. So that's why you find in the original constitution, there is only a passing mention of village panchayats. Article 40 of the constitution says, the state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such powers and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of self-government. That's all. There's nothing else. Once Pandit Nehru became Prime Minister, he found that it was becoming difficult to run the government only from Delhi and state capitals. He felt the need for village panchayats and other local bodies. So he constituted what's called a Balwantrai Mehta Committee, which gave a report in 1957. I'm sure you all read about it. The Balwantrai Mehta Committee recommended a 3-tier structure: village panchayat, block panchayat, and district panchayat. Okay. It was acted upon in most states, including Tamil Nadu. Then in 1977, when the Janata Party came to power, they constituted another committee called Ashoka Mehta Committee. Now these guys gave a different kind of report. They said no village panchayat, mandal panchayat, mandal is a group of villages, then district panchayat. They gave a different kind of report. Then in 1989, Rajiv Gandhi, the then Prime Minister, somehow somebody told him that if you give constitutional status to local bodies, you will become popular. I mean, I don't think you can become popular by giving more powers to local bodies. Somehow somebody sold him this idea and he tried to bring in the 64th and 65th Constitution amendments, but they failed. Then in 1993, when Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister, I am told there used to be a scheme called MP's Local Area Development Scheme, MPLADS. Narasimha Rao promised each MP 1 crore of rupees every year and got them to agree to passing this amendment. So the 73rd Constitution Amendment and the 74th Constitution Amendment were passed. The 73rd Amendment relates to panchayats, 74th Amendment relates to municipalities. Now I'm sure as students you know the 29 subjects. This is the 11th schedule, the 29 subjects that are supposed to be given to rural local bodies, the panchayats. And in the 12th schedule, there are 18 subjects to be given to the urban local bodies. I won't read them out. Now there are certain concepts here which you must be clear about. First is the principle of subsidiarity. Anybody knows what's the principle of subsidiarity? The principle of subsidiarity says that power should be exercised by the lowest tier of government, provided it is competent to do so. For example, let me give an example. In many countries, in USA, in European countries, even in China, ports are run by, you will be surprised to know, municipalities and counties. Because the port is nothing but a glorified lorry's goods yard. But in India, major ports are run by Government of India, minor ports are run by the state governments. So do ports have to be really run by state government of India? Not necessary. It's just like a goods yard, lorry goods yard. Ports can very well be given to Chennai Corporation and it can do a good job of running it. You don't need government of India to run it. Now, as per the principle of subsidiarity says, ports are best run by local bodies. But the Indian Constitution somehow never followed the principle of subsidiarity. Our Indian Constitution is highly centralized. And one of the reasons for the inefficiency, the corruption, the delays is the extreme centralized nature of our constitution. The reason why our constitution is so centralized is the framers were afraid that the past history of the country should not repeat. We didn't want to be subject to fissiparous tendencies and invasions. They wanted a strong center. But in the process, what has happened is there has been too much centralization. Next is direct election versus indirect election. I'm sure you're aware of this concept. Chennai Corporation, for example, except this time, in the past, the ward members used to be directly elected, and the mayor also used to be directly elected. Okay, but this time, the ward members are directly elected, mayor was indirectly elected. Indirectly elected meaning elected by the ward members. Now, Chief Minister, as you know, is indirectly elected by the ruling party MLAs. The Prime Minister is indirectly elected by the ruling party MPs. Now, there are pros and cons in having direct election and indirect election. Especially for mayor and chairpersons of local bodies, I think direct election is better. Because a person who is a directly elected mayor has a pan-city view, has an all-city view. In most of the countries, the mayors are directly elected. In Tamil Nadu also, the mayors and chairpersons used to be directly elected till recently, but this time we switched over to the indirect election mode. In some states, this indirect election has been carried to ridiculous extents. For example, in some states, the mayor or the chairman changes every year. In some states, they are there for 2.5 years, and another guy becomes mayor or chairman after 2.5 years. Now, there is no continuity. The next funda is taxes, fees, and user charges. How many of you know the difference between taxes, fees, and user charges? Taxes have to be levied only with the authority of law. You can't levy a tax without a law. Article 265 of the Constitution says that. But you can charge a fee or a user charge without any law. Anybody, even a private company can charge a fee, a private company can charge a user charge. Now in taxes, the most important thing is there is no quid pro quo. நான் இது பண்ணனால நான் உங்ககிட்ட டேக்ஸ் வசூல் பண்ணுறதுனால நான் உங்களுக்கு செய்யணும்னு தேவையில்லை. டிவியிலலாம் நீங்கள் இந்த இன்ஃபார்ம் டிபேட்ஸ் பார்த்துருப்பீங்க. மக்களோட வரிப்பணம் வாங்கிட்டு நீங்கள் ஒன்றும் சரியாக பண்ணல, எங்கள் ரோடு சரியில்லை, எனக்கு தண்ணி வரல அப்படியம்மா. நான் வரிப்பணம் வாங்கினனால உனக்கு ரோடு பண்ணி தரணும்னு தேவையில்லை சட்டப்படி. உனக்கு தண்ணி கொடுக்கணும்னு தேவையில்லை. பிகாஸ் இன் டாக்ஸஸ் தெர் இஸ் நோ குவிட் ப்ரோ கோ. But in fees and user charges, there is a quid pro quo. After having collected the fees, let's say university collects the examination fees, but doesn't allow you to enter the exam, you can fight it out. And what are the difference between fees and user charges? User charges is paid usually after you consume. For example, your water charges, electricity charges, phone charges, these are all user charges. Fees are normally paid before you enter the entrance fee, things like this. Why I am saying this is, local bodies are given certain number of taxes, fees, and user charges. Vertical fiscal imbalance versus horizontal fiscal imbalance. I don't know if you are aware of this. You often see the WhatsApp messages and discussions on TV like saying 4 states, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Gujarat, they contribute the bulk of the revenue of India. The rest are poor. So the money from these 4 rich states is being transferred to the poorer states. Similarly, if you take Tamil Nadu, Chennai alone contributes about 70% of the total tax revenue. Coimbatore about 20%. The rest of the state put together is only 10%. Now, just because Chennai city has been contributing 70%, you can't spend the entire 70% on Chennai. It may have to be spent on Pudukkottai or Madurai or Ramanathapuram and things like that. So this brings the thing of vertical fiscal imbalance means the center has more sources of tax revenue, state has less, the local bodies even less. So there is what is called the Central Finance Commission, which is constituted every 5 years, which says from the center's revenue, so much has to go to the states, so much has to go to the local bodies. Similarly, the state constitutes a finance commission every 5 years, which says so much money will go to the urban local bodies, so many will go to the rural local bodies, so much will go to municipalities, so much will go to corporations, so much will go to town panchayats, so much will go to district panchayats, block panchayats, village panchayats. Horizontal fiscal balance, as I said, from the richer states to the poorer states, or from richer regions to the poorer regions. Next, devolution of funds, functions, and functionaries. This is a term which is often used in the context of local bodies. And this is a term made popular by Manishankar Iyer when he was Minister of Panchayat Raj. He says it is not enough if you simply give functions to local bodies. If you don't give concomitant funds and staff. Untied funds and tied funds, I hope you heard of these terms also. If your father is giving you pocket money of 1,000 rupees and says you can spend it anytime, any way you want, that is untied fund. But if your father is putting too many conditions saying don't spend more than 200 rupees on drinks, don't spend more than 100 rupees on cigarettes, don't spend more than 300 rupees on hotels. That is tight fund. Now what is happening is central government is giving money to states. State government is giving money to local bodies, but usually they are in the form of tight funds. So what local bodies want and what state governments want is untied funds. Nee condition podada na eppadi selavu pandradha na mudivu panikren. Then matching grant and assigned revenues. See, many of these local bodies don't collect taxes. They oru pakkathula enakku adhikaram venum nu kettirpan. Innoru pakkathula neenga adhikaram kodutha பணத்தை கலெக்ட் பண்ண மாட்டான். எஸ்பெஷலி இன் வில்லேஜ் பஞ்சாயத்து இந்த பிரசிடென்ட்டுக்கு எல்லோரும் தெரிஞ்சவன் சொந்தக்காரனாக இருப்பான். ஸோ அவங்ககிட்ட போய் நீங்கள் டேக்ஸ் கேட்டால் நான் அவன் ரொம்ப எகருவான், என்ன எங்கிட்டே கேட்குறியா, அடுத்த எலெக்ஷனில் உன்னை கவனிச்சுக்கிறேன் அப்படியம்மா. ஸோ இவனுக்கு தெரிஞ்சவங்கிறனால இவன் கொஞ்சம் hesitate பண்ணுவான். ஸோ த டேக்ஸ் கலெக்ஷன் எஃபிஷியன்சி இன் ரூரல் லோக்கல் பாடிஸ் இஸ் pretty low. It used to be about 30 to 40% once upon a time, improving slightly. Whereas in urban local bodies, because people are anonymity, there is anonymity, யார் எவன் தெரியாதனால கொஞ்சம் டேக்ஸ் கலெக்ஷன் எஃபிஷியன்சி இஸ் கிரேட்டர். So because the tax collection efficiency is poor, government is trying to encourage by saying we'll give a matching grant. அப்படியே நீ 100 ரூபா கலெக்ட் பண்ணினா நாங்கள் 100 ரூபா தரோம். So that will encourage the president and others to the local bodies to collect more. Assigned revenues means, for example, there is a cinema theater in a local body or there are mines. இவங்கிட்ட விட்டால் இவன் கலெக்ட் பண்ண மாட்டான், அவனால் முடியாது. ஸோ கவர்மெண்ட் சேஸ் நாங்கள் கலெக்ட் பண்ணுறோம், பட் உனக்கு அந்த பணம் தரோம். ஸ்டாம்ப் டியூட்டி, என்டர்டெயின்மெண்ட் டேக்ஸ், ஆல் தீஸ் ஆர் கால்ட் அசைன்ட் ரெவென்யூஸ். தென் வெர்டிக்கல் அக்கௌண்டபிலிட்டி அண்ட் ஹொரிசான்டல் அக்கௌண்டபிலிட்டி. Vertical accountability, you are in a hierarchy. Your HOD reports to the registrar, vice chancellor, but there is also horizontal accountability. She is accountable to the students, she is accountable to the parents, she is accountable to the stakeholders at large. So the general thinking is vertical accountability alone is not sufficient, you also need horizontal accountability. Now major changes in 73rd and 74th amendments, I suppose ungalukku theriyum nenikren, but anyway I'll quickly run through it. Ward members of all rural and urban local bodies directly elected. Chairpersons of village panchayats and urban local bodies either directly elected or indirectly elected, the state may decide. As I told you, Chennai local bodies till last election, they were mayors and chairpersons were directly elected. This time they switched over to indirect election. Chairpersons of block and district panchayats, only indirect election. Reservation for SCs and STs. Reservation for women, 1/3 is reserved for women. Reservation for OBCs, state to decide. Tamil Nadu there is no reservation for OBCs because OBCs are already well empowered. Rotation of reserved posts every 10 years. If certain panchayats are reserved for SC, they shouldn't be perpetually reserved for SC. So after 10 years they are de-reserved. Some other panchayats will be reserved for SC. Same with rotation, reservation for women. State Election Commission, just as you have a Central Election Commission for conducting elections to Parliament and assemblies, you have a State Election Commission. Elections to rural local bodies and urban local bodies every 5 years. Elections to be completed before the expiry of the term. See, before this constitutional amendment, states didn't used to conduct elections regularly. For example, in Tamil Nadu, from 58 to 76, elections were conducted regularly. 77 MGR vandare. 77 to 86, on some pretext or the other, he didn't conduct elections because he thought election conduct panna the DMK alanga anginga vandruvanuga, they will capture some municipalities, they will capture some blocks. He didn't want that. He wanted, so for 9 years, on some pretext or the other, he kept on postponing the elections. Finally in 86 he conducted the elections, and what he feared happened. Many of the urban and rural local bodies were captured by DMK. Now, all these you know this. States may decide on devolution of the 29 subjects listed in the 11th schedule to rural local bodies. States may decide on devolution of the 18 subjects. States to decide which taxes. States will decide which taxes have to be given to the local bodies. But usually, as I said, their collection efficiency is low. Ivanukku poi tax kuduthingana avanala collect panna mudiyadu. State Finance Commission every 5 years. 1950, we have been having a Central Finance Commission every 5 years, because as I said, center has more sources of revenue, states don't have many. So the Central Finance Commission is every 5 years it gives a report saying from the center's resources, itana percent, X% should go to the states and so on. A similar finance commission has been constituted for the local bodies. So every 5 years, the State Finance Commission will say Y% should go from state kitty to local bodies, itana for urban, itana for rural. Gram Sabha, wards committees, all these I'll skip. Now, what has happened after these 73rd and 74th amendments? The 73rd, if you see the Constitution, you will find that these are the longest amendments to the Constitution. Almost 1/4 of the Constitution is this thing. Very long amendments. And they have not undergone a single amendment in the past 30 years. 1993 la vandade idu varaiku oru amendment varala. That doesn't mean it's perfect and arthamilla. Nariya thappu irukku. Decentralization la yarukume interest illa. Adanal da nobody has touched that. The first mistake and the foremost mistake that they made, they brought two amendments, 73rd for rural local bodies, 74th for urban local bodies. Now you may ask, why did they bring two amendments? Why not only one amendment? Anybody has any idea? Because there are two ministries in Delhi, one Ministry of Rural Development, another Ministry of Urban Development. So the Ministry of Rural Development piloted the 73rd Amendment, Ministry of Urban Development piloted the 74th Amendment, which was a mistake. There are two separate amendments. This has created a lot of problems. I'll explain why. The 74th Amendment relating to urban local bodies, actually they were not serious about the urban local bodies at all. See, one problem in India has been, right from independence, even though Nehru, Patel and all these people had been chairpersons of municipalities themselves, somehow they neglected urban local bodies. In the Gandhi's statement that India lives in its villages, people thought villages are mukyam, cities are not so important. And you'll be surprised to know that till 2000, there are no proper schemes or grants from Government of India or the state governments to the urban local bodies. Rural local bodies had plenty of grants, plenty of schemes, but urban local bodies were virtually left to fend for themselves. No? The reason, because the thinking was, one reason was most of these MLAs and MPs were Gramatalanga. Their thinking was only relating to villages. They had no understanding of the city issues. Now, these defects are not something which I am saying. The Second Administrative Reforms Commission, headed by Veerappa Moily, constituted in 2005, has said all these defects, but till date, no amendments have come. Now, let me quickly run through the problems with this 73rd and 74th Amendment. You remember that Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, 1957, it recommended a 3-tier structure, village panchayats, block panchayat, district panchayat. 1950s that was okay. 3 tiers were okay. Adukapura districts got bifurcated, trifurcated, blocks got bifurcated, trifurcated. Tamil Nadu at once upon a time had only 10 districts. Now we have something like 40 districts. India once upon a time there were only some 300 districts. Now there are more than 750 districts. So districts have become smaller and smaller. So even in a small district, you have 3 tier vechikkiradala thevilladu. There is no need for 3 tiers. So one point is, too many tiers of rural local bodies. Do we really need the intermediate and district tiers? Village panchayat mattu podume. The tier which is closest to the people is village panchayat. Urban la ore tier da, but rural la 3 irukku, village, block and ide. And the block and district panchayat actually thevilla. Because when you have parallel bodies all elected, there is scope for friction and there is scope for tension, especially if they belong to different political parties. Another reason is, there are too many elected representatives for rural local bodies. India's population is now about 140 crores. Rural population is about 97 crores. Urban population is 43 crores. For this 97 crore rural population, guess how many elected representatives are there? 29 lakhs. And for the 43 crore urban population, 73,000. Now you may say more people means more representation or better representation. No, that's not the way it works. More people means more hands in the till, more mouths to feed, more corruption. That's what it means. So we should actually aim at reducing the number of representatives on the rural side. Now there is one more problem. Let us say there is Gummadi Pundi block panchayat. 10 members இருக்கான்னு வெச்சுக்கோங்க, chairman and 10 members. If they get 10 crores, they will divide the amount exactly to the last decimal place, 1 crore each. They won't get 10 crores, 10 crores. I'm saying, let's say they get 1 crore. They will divide it into 10 lakhs each. And the 10 lakhsல எவனுமே உருப்படியாக எதுவும் பண்ண முடியாது. புரியுங்களா? அது அவன் எல்லாம் ஈக்குவலாக பிரிக்கிறதுனால they are supposed to take up big works, but they all end up taking tukada works. இத்தனோண்டு ரோடு, ஒரு கல்வெட்டு, useless works தான் பண்ணிருப்பானுங்க. So you find that we are giving them a lot of money. The same is true of district panchayats also. We are giving them a lot of money, but உருப்படியாக ஏதோ பண்ணியிருக்காங்களான்னு பார்த்தா ஒன்றும் பண்ணல. Even the district panchayat fellows and the block panchayat fellows are taking up village panchayat type of works. Then why do you need those two tiers? Now state governments, MPs and MLAs, see, we can't go against human nature. Nobody likes to nama power vittu kodukradhukku yaru thayarilla. As you know, central government is perpetually trying to weaken the states, snatch powers from the states. Similarly, state governments is perpetually trying to weaken the local bodies. Now, if you are an MLA or MP, you would feel threatened by the local municipal chairman or the local block panchayat chairman because he is a potential contender for the next MLA ticket. அடுத்த எலெக்ஷனில் இவன் வந்தாலும் நமக்கு போட்டியாக வந்துடும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி நீங்கள் இவனை மட்டம் தட்ட பார்ப்பீங்க. So state governments, MPs and MLAs feel most threatened by empowered district panchayats, somewhat threatened by empowered urban local bodies and intermediate panchayats, and least threatened by empowered village panchayats. Village panchayat ane ivanukku bayam illa. They don't perceive village panchayat presidents as threats. So they are willing to give more powers to village panchayats. But they are hesitant to give level male vara. They are hesitant to give more powers to block panchayats or municipalities, and they are mortally afraid of giving more powers to district panchayat. And I think it is correct also, because நம்ம தமிழ்நாடு மாதிரி பாலிடிக்ஸில் ஆளுங்கட்சி எதிர்கட்சி இப்போ திங்ஸ் ஆர் பெட்டர். ஒரு டைமில் கவர்மெண்ட் வாஸ் ஏடிஎம்கே, ஜெயலலிதா வாஸ் த சீஃப் மினிஸ்டர், மதுரை டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட் பஞ்சாயத் சேர்மன் டிஎம்கே ஆளுனா மதுரை டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட் காலி. அந்த அம்மா டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட் போனால் தட் ஃபெலோ ஒன்ட் கால் ஆனர், அண்ட் அந்த டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்டுக்கு எந்த பணமும் கொடுக்க மாட்டாங்க. இந்த மாதிரி பொலிட்டிக்கல் இதெல்லாம் ரொம்ப ஜாஸ்தியாக இருக்குது. ஸோ காமராஜர் இந்த இது அப்போயே புரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு 1950s காமராஜர் said district boards பவர் கொடுக்கக்கூடாது. We shouldn't have empowered district boards. We should have only advisory and planning in district boards. Because the district panchayat chairman, if he is too powerful, he will fight with the collector, he will fight with the district minister, he will fight with the department minister. மூணு பேர்கிட்ட சண்டை போட்டிருப்பான். And வேறு கட்சிக்காரனானா தொடர்ந்து சண்டை ஆகிட்டுருக்கும். ஸோ they said, Kamaraj said that time itself, that the district body should not be இதாக இருக்கக்கூடாது, it should only be a planning and advisory body. So irrespective whether it is DMK or ADMK, Tamil Nadu has consistently taken the stand that we don't want district panchayat. No, we don't want the district panchayat, but constitutional போட்டு தள்ளிச்சிட்டான் district panchayat பண்ணியே ஆகணும்னு சொல்லி. So what did Tamil Nadu do now? District panchayat dummy ஆக்கி விட்டு அதுக்கு எதுவும் பவர் கொடுக்கல. We have just called it as a planning and advisory body. Not only Tamil Nadu, most states have done the same. So ideally what the constitution should have done was, Constitution should have made the village panchayat level mandatory and said between the other two levels, in a block panchayat and district panchayat, வேணுமான block panchayat நீங்கள் வச்சுக்கோங்க, வேணுமான district panchayat வச்சுக்கோங்க, வேணுமான ரெண்டு வச்சுக்கோங்க, வேண்டாட்டி ரெண்டுமே வேண்டாம். But block village panchayat is mandatory. That would have been the correct thing. But இவங்க ஒரு ஒன் சைஸ் ஃபிட்ஸ் ஆல் மாதிரி எல்லா ஸ்டேட்டுக்கும் இப்படி இருக்கணும்னு சொல்லி போட்டாங்க. That's why it's not working properly. In every state, at least one tier is a dummy. In Karnataka, for example, the Taluk Panchayat, the intermediate Panchayat is a dummy. In Tamil Nadu, district Panchayat is a dummy. Kerala, district is a dummy, block also is a dummy. எல்லா ஸ்டேட்லையும் ஒரே ஒரு டியர் தான் ஒழுங்காக ஒர்க் பண்ணிருக்கு. மோஸ்ட் ஸ்டேட்ஸில் வில்லேஜ் இஸ் ஒர்க்கிங் ப்ராப்பர்லி. The other two tiers are not working properly. The other mistake that this, as I said, because they brought two different amendments, rural konne, urban konne. The 73rd amendment was brought for rural areas. The 74th amendment was brought for urban areas. So the district panchayat's jurisdiction extends only to rural areas. Now if you take a district like Coimbatore, 80% is urban. So what is the point of having a district panchayat president whose chairman whose role is only, jurisdiction covers only the 20% rural waste. And போக போக urban areas கூடிட்டே இருக்கும், rural areas குறைஞ்சிட்டே வரும். ஸோ இட் டசன்ட் மேக் சென்ஸ் டு இது. மோரோவர் ஒரு லாங் ரோட் நீங்கள் போட்டுறீங்கன்னா அந்த ரோட் வில் பாஸ் த்ரூ செவரல் அர்பன் ஏரியாஸ் அண்ட் செவரல் ரூரல் ஏரியாஸ். ரூரல் ஏரியா மட்டும் தான் இவங்க போட முடியும், அர்பன் அவன் போடணும். இட் டசன்ட் மேக் சென்ஸ். ஸோ இவங்க என்ன பண்ணியிருக்கணும் அப்படி பண்ணுறதா இருந்தால், வில்லேஜ் பஞ்சாயத்து இருக்கும், இந்த பிளாக் பஞ்சாயத்து ஆர் district panchayat should have covered both urban and rural areas. It doesn't make sense to say it will cover only rural areas. So, though it is not correct to criticize the Constitution is a sacred document, but I am sorry to say that the 73rd and 74th amendments were passed in great haste, without proper deliberation, without thinking things through, and it's a very poor piece of amendment. Okay, let me skip some of the things. Yeah. Now, as I said, because village panchayats get a lot of funds and town panchayats, municipalities don't have many funds. I told you till 2000 they were being neglected. நிறைய பெரிய பெரிய வில்லேஜ் பஞ்சாயத்து தமிழ்நாட்டில் இருக்குது. 50,000 பாப்புலேஷன், 40,000 பாப்புலேஷன். அது எந்த காலத்துலேயே டவுனாக இருக்கணும், பட் இன்னும் வில்லேஜ் பஞ்சாயத்துன்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கான். Till recently, Palavakkam and Ninjambakam and all these are village panchayats. Even though they deserve to become towns, why they don't want to become towns? Because they feel that if they become towns, they won't get scheme funds. People feel that taxes will go up, there will be more rules. So there's a general reluctance. But in the process of the village it won't develop. So in Chennai you find all the added areas, Ninjambakam, Palavakkam, there is no proper water supply, no proper sewerage, and many of these facilities are lacking. I used to be vice chancellor in that Indian Maritime University that was in Uttandi. Ange water supply illa, sewerage illa, though you are part of Chennai city. This happens because what you should do is every 10 years after the census results come, the city எந்த டைரக்ஷனில் எக்ஸ்பேண்ட் ஆகுதுன்னு பார்க்கணும். அந்த ஏரியாஸ் எல்லாம் நீங்கள் சிட்டியோட மர்ச் பண்ணணும். This exercise was not done for many years. Till 2010, Chennai city was only about 174 square kilometers. In fact, I was one of the persons who pushed for the expansion of Chennai's boundaries, because Delhi has become 1,500 square kilometers, Bombay has become 900 square kilometers, Bangalore is 750 square kilometers, Chennai was only 174 square kilometers. So we pushed, and Kalaignar finally agreed. So Chennai's thing was expanded from 174 to 426 square kilometers. Similarly, when I was Secretary Municipal Administration, I also pushed for expansion of all other major cities. Coimbatore used to be about 110 square kilometers. We expanded it to 265 square kilometers. Madurai used to be 49 square kilometers. We expanded it to 151 square kilometers. Even Madurai High Court used to be in a village. Now it is part of the town. Salem, Madurai, Tanjavur, all the district headquarters, we expanded it. For example, let me tell you about Hosur. I used to be sub-collector of Hosur in 1985-87. That time Hosur municipality was only 11 square kilometers. At the Sutti or 5 village panchayat, the Mukandapalli, Zuzuvadi and Suli, they were very rich because Hosur industrial estate was, Sipcot industrial estate was there. Those industries were paying a lot of profession tax, property tax and all that. So municipality didn't have money, but those village panchayats had a lot of money, and the village panchayats were misusing that money. Poi bill போட்டு சுரண்டிட்டு இருந்தானுங்க. So 25 years later, when I became municipal administration secretary, I found Hosur was still 11 square kilometers. It's ridiculous. So what we did is we merged those 5 village panchayats with Hosur, and now then Hosur became bigger. Now Hosur has been upgraded as a corporation. So the short point here is, every 10 years, once the census results come out, somebody should sit and see along which road the city is expanding, and all those areas should be added to the city. City la vandha da proper plan panna mudiyum. Tani village ah irundana you can't plan. Next, about elections, the constitution says local body oda term முடியிறதுக்கு முன்னால election நடத்தி ஆகணும் அப்படினு சொல்லுது. For example, Tamil Nadu first local body elections were conducted under the new amendment, 73rd Amendment and 74th Amendment in October 96. October 2001, the second election was conducted, second round of elections. October 2006, third round was conducted. October 2011, fourth round was conducted. The fifth round should have been conducted before October 2016. But that time the EPS government was little shaky. I think EPS had not come, but the Jayalalitha was in hospital and things were shaky. So the election nadthala. Though the constitution says you should conduct it, they didn't conduct the election. The standard trick is like this. வேணுட்டே ஒரு மிஸ்டேக் பண்ணுறது, இதில் ரிசர்வேஷனில் இல்லாட்டி பவுண்ட்ரிஸ் ட்ரா பண்ணுறதுல மிஸ்டேக் பண்ணி ஒருத்தங்கிட்ட கோர்ட்டுக்கு போய் நீ ஸ்டே வாங்கிறேன்னு சொல்கிறது. கோர்ட் இந்த மாதிரி ஒன்று பண்ணாங்க. ஃபார் 5 years they didn't conduct elections. Almost for 5 years. October 2016 முன்னால் நடத்த வேண்டிய elections they conducted finally. For rural local bodies they conducted in January 2020, and for urban local bodies, if you remember, they conducted in February 2022 last year. So in spite of the constitution provision saying elections must be conducted every 5 years, and states have found out a method of beating this. The constitution is silent about when the first election should be conducted. It says first election நடத்துக்கப்புறம் அடுத்த எலெக்ஷன் இப்படி நடத்தணும்னு. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எலெக்ஷன் எப்போ? ஸோ அந்த சைலன்ஸை யூஸ் பண்ணி பாண்டிச்சேரியில் இன்னி வரைக்கும் அவங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எலெக்ஷனே நடத்தலை, அப்படியே ஓட்டிகிட்டு இருக்கானுங்க. At this point I already said local bodies don't make sincere efforts, their collection efficiency is poor. Rural local bodies more poor. urban local bodies comparatively better. There is a state finance commission. Central finance commission is more active. அவங்க சொன்னது more independent. State finance commission நானும் அதில் 2 வாட்டி மெம்பராக இருந்திருக்கேன். பட் ஃபைனான்ஸ் செக்ரட்டரி கூப்பிட்டு சொல்லுவார், கண்ணாமண்ணா ரெக்கமெண்ட் பண்ணாதீங்க, எங்களுக்கு கொடுக்க முடியாது, 10% மேலே கொடுக்க முடியாது, நீங்கள் 10% மேலே போட்டிங்கன்னா நாங்கள் தட் இஸ் 10% ஆஃப் ஸ்டேட் ரெவன்யூஸ் நாங்கள் ஃபாலோ பண்ண மாட்டோம். சரி, நாங்கள் இந்த ஆள் இப்போ சொல்லி தொலைச்சிட்டா நம்ம 10% போடுவோம்னு சொல்லி போட்டுருவோம். ஸோ we are not really very independent. Gross financial indiscipline in local bodies. I remember in 1996 I was director of rural development. அப்போ தான் அந்த புது 73rd amendmentல நாங்கள் ஃபஸ்ட் டைம் எலெக்ஷன் நடத்திருக்கோம். இந்த சீஃப் செக்ரட்டரி சார் மற்ற ஸ்டேட்டில் என்ன பண்ணுறாங்கன்னு போய் பார்த்துட்டு வாங்கன்னு சொல்லி அனுப்பிச்சாங்க. I was sent to Kerala and Karnataka. When I went to Karnataka, I was shocked to find, because இவன் என்ன பண்ணுறான்னா, இந்த ஒரு பிளாக்குக்கோ டவுனுக்கோ 1 கோடி அலோகேஷன் வச்சுக்கோங்க. திஸ் எலெக்டட் ரெப்ரஸன்டேட்டிவ்ஸ் டேக் ஒர்க்ஸ் ஃபார் 3 crores 5 crores. அவன் எடுக்க வேண்டியது 1 crore, பட் இவன் எடுக்கிறது 3 கோடி 5 கோடி, அப்புறம் பார்த்துக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி. அண்ட் especially when the elections are nearing, they flout all norms. They happily take works over and above the thing. So with the result, ஒரு புது டீம் ஆஃப் ஆஃபீஸ் பேரர்ஸ் வரப்போ they find that பழைய ஆளுங்க இஷ்டத்துக்கு கஜானாவை காலி பண்ணிட்டு போயிட்டானுங்க. கஜானாவை காலி பண்ணது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் they have taken over and above 3 times 5 times. ஸோ இவனால் எதுவும் புதுசாக பண்ண முடியாது. வர பணம் எல்லாம் இந்த பழைய ஒர்க்கு பில்லு பே பண்ணுறதுலேயே போகுது. ஸோ திஸ் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் ஃபைனான்ஷியல் இன்டிசிப்ளின் தமிழ்நாட்டில் அதை பார்த்துட்டு we prevented that. Tamil the problem is not there so much, but in many states this is the case. Then this is a question which is often asked: is corruption more in the case of elected local bodies or less? The general impression is of all these elected chaps is negative, especially in the urban local bodies. இந்த கவுன்சிலர்னு சொன்னாலே எங்கே மணல் கொட்டியிருக்கான், எங்கே வீடு கட்டுறாங்க, இது பார்த்துட்டே இருக்கான், உங்களை உடனே பிடிச்சி வசூல் பண்ணுறான் அப்படிங்கிறது ஒரு பேச்சு. திஸ் இஸ் a general talk everywhere. And it's partly true. But I worked with in a system when there were elected bodies and when there were no elected bodies. So let me tell you that I personally believe that there is less corruption with elected local bodies than without. A purely official system is like a black hole. இவன் என்ன பண்ணுறானே தெரியாது, அப்படியே சுரண்டிட்டு போயிடுவான், முழு பணத்தை சுரண்டிடுவான், பொய் பில் போட்டு எடுத்துருவானுங்க, யாருக்கும் தெரியாது. வேறஸ் அட்லீஸ்ட் எலெக்டட் பாடிஸ் இருக்கிறப்போ ஆஃபீஸர்ஸில் ரெசிஸ்டன்ஸ் இருக்கும், ஆப்போசிஷன் பார்ட்டிக்காராக இருக்கான், அவன் கண்டுபிடிச்சி சொல்லுவான். there are so many checks and balances. But without the elected body, so even and because there are opposition இருக்கிறனால ஒன்று அவன் சொல்லுவான், சிலவாட்டி opposition makes false allegations also. So because of all this, the general perception is that elected bodies are more corrupt than the officers. It is actually the other way around. The purely officer system is much more corrupt. And I remember I worked during when I was collector, there were no elected bodies. ஒரு பிளாக் ஆஃபீஸில் நிறைய பணம் இருந்தது. இவனுக்கு டெய்லி காலையில் இருந்த பிடிஓ அந்த ஸ்டாஃபோட வேலை இதுதான், இன்றைக்கி என்ன பொய் பில் போட்டு பணம் எடுத்துடலாம்ப்பா அப்படியம்மா. ஸோ இந்த ஒருத்தர் சொல்லலாம், சார் இன்றைக்கி தேல்கடி மருந்து வாங்கின மாதிரி போட்டுடலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி ஒரு தேல்கடி மருந்து 10 லட்சம் போடு அப்படின்னு சொல்லி தேல்கடி மருந்தே வாங்கியிருக்க மாட்டான், எல்லாம் பிரிச்சுக்குவானுங்க. நாளைக்கு பாம்பு கடி மருந்து, அதுக்கப்புறம் கிராவல் ஓட்டினேன், இந்த மாதிரி இந்த பொய் பில்லை போட்டு பணத்தை சுரண்டிட்டானுங்க. whereas with elected bodies this is not possible. இவன் கமிஷன் அடிப்பான், எல்லாம் பண்ணுவான், பட் இந்த முழு பூசணிக்காய் சாப்பிட்ற வேலை எலெக்ஷனில் நடக்காது. அட்லீஸ்ட் கொஞ்சம் ஒர்க்கானாலும் பண்ணி ஆகணும். whereas ஆஃபீஸர்ஸில் முழுசாக சாப்பிட்ருவானுங்க. The next point is, I personally believe that these elected fellows are like the girl in the nursery rhyme. There is a nursery rhyme which says, there was a little girl who had a little curl. When she was good, she was very very good. When she was bad, she was horrid. அப்படின்னு ஒரு நர்சரி ரைம் இருக்குது, உங்களுக்கு தெரியும்னு நினைக்கிறேன். நம்ம இந்த elected representatives, they are like that. Where they are good, they are very very good, they are outstanding. Where they are bad, they are horrible, they are terrible. So I remember when I was in Tanjavur, that used to be the composite Tanjavur district, the 3 இப்போ இருக்கிற 3 districts சேர்த்து, there are 3 panchayat union block panchayat chairmen, Tiruvarur, Tiruthureipoondi, Papanasam. Tiruvarur was a DMK man, Tiruthureipoondi was a communist guy, Papanasam was a Congress guy. Outstanding fellows, அவ்வளோ கேப்பபிள் ஃபெலோஸே நான் பார்த்ததில்லை. நார்மலி ஒர்க்ஸ் ஸ்கீம்ஸ் எல்லாம் 31st மார்ச்சுக்குள்ளே முடிக்கணும்னு சொன்னால், இந்த திருவாரூர் ஃபெலோ ஃபினிஷ்ட் இட் பை 31st October ப்ரீவியஸ் இது முடிச்சுட்டு, சார் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா பணம் கொடுங்க அப்படிம்பார். த திருத்துறைப்பூண்டி கம்யூனிஸ்ட் கை ஹி ஃபினிஷ்ட் பை November 15th. இவன் யார், அந்த காங்கிரஸ் மேன் ஃபினிஷ்ட் பை November 30th. வேற இந்த அஃபிஷியல் சிஸ்டமில் நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா வருஷக்கணக்காக எடுத்துகிட்டே இருப்பானுங்க. ஸோ That's what I said, when people are good, they are very, very good. At the same time, I had cases like this also. சங்கராபுரத்தில் நான் கலெக்டர் இருந்தப்போ சங்கராபுரத்தில் ஒரு சேர்மன் இருந்தான். அவன் அந்த சந்தன மரத்தெல்லாம் வெட்டி அவனோட அஃபிஷியல் வண்டியில் டிரான்ஸ்போர்ட் பண்ணி வித்துட்டு இருந்தான். ஸோ அந்த கேட்டகரியும் இருக்குது, இந்த கேட்டகரியும் இருக்குது. சிமிலர்லி வலங்கைமானில் ஐ ரிமெம்பர் ஒன் கரப்ட் சேர்மன் வாஸ் தேர். ஐ வென்ட் டு எ வில்லேஜ், ஒரு குரூப் ஹவுசஸ், ஆதிதரோட குரூப் ஹவுசஸ் 3 வருஷம் ஆச்சு கட்டல. என்ன ஆச்சுன்னா அந்த பணம் வந்தது சேர்மன் அவன் பொண்ணு கல்யாணத்துக்கு யூஸ் பண்ணிட்டான். அண்ட் இ டோல்ட் த எஸ்சிஸ்க்கு பணமே வரல, டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்லேருந்து பணம் வரல அப்படின்னா. தென் தேவர் அவனை நம்பிட்டு சும்மா இருந்தாங்க. பிகாஸ் த பிடிஓக்கு தெரியும், பட் ஹி வாஸ் கொலூடிங் வித் த சேர்மன். தென் ஐ செட் நோ, பணம் வந்து 3 வருஷம் ஆச்சு அப்படின்னு சொல்லி தென் ஐ கேவ் த சேர்மன் அன் அல்டிமேட்டம். 1 மந்த்துக்குள்ளே நீ கட்ட ஆரம்பிக்காட்டி எஃப்ஐஆர் போடுவேன்னு சொன்னோன்னா கட்ட ஆரம்பிச்சிட்டான். ஸோ தெர் ஆர் பேட் எக்ஸ் ஆல்சோ, குட் எக்ஸ், பட் ஆன் த ஹோல் my feeling is that the elected representatives are better. They are smarter than the average official. The average municipal chairman is smarter than the average municipal commissioner. The average panchayat union block panchayat chairman is smarter than the average BDO. Because to get elected you have to be reasonably smart. Ticket வாங்குறதுக்கே கொஞ்சம் ஸ்மார்ட்டாக இருக்கணும், எலெக்ட் ஆகிறதுக்கு இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் ஸ்மார்ட்டாக இருக்கணும். Whereas படு தத்திங்கெல்லாம் can become BDOs or municipal commissioners. So on an average they are better, and they are also more responsive, especially in the time of natural disasters. The Gaja புயல் அந்த மாதிரி புயல் வந்தப்போ பிரசிடென்ட்ஸ் இந்த கவுன்சிலர்ஸ் இவங்கெல்லாம் இருந்தால் இவங்க ஸ்பாட்டில் போய் வேலை பார்ப்பானுங்க. பியூர்லி ஆஃபீஸர் சிஸ்டம் டசன்ட் ஒர்க் வெல். நவ் how do we get the best out of our local bodies? Bangalore they did a thing called citizen report cards. What they would do is, an independent organization would do a public survey. They will ask people, let's say சென்னையில் பண்ணுறாங்கன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, கார்பரேஷனை பற்றி என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க? somebody will say 10ல் எத்தனை மார்க் கொடுப்பீங்க கார்பரேஷனுக்கு? somebody will say 10ல் 8, somebody will say 5, somebody will say 3. So they will tabulate everything. Similarly மெட்ரோ வாட்டரை பற்றி என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க, இபி பற்றி என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க, பிடபிள்யூடி பற்றி என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லி, this is called a citizen report card. Every year they will bring a report card, and அதை பார்த்து என்ன நம்ம ஆளுங்க they can improve themselves. It's a good system actually, because now with online you also know that in the private sector, இப்போ நீங்கள் அமேசானில் ஒன்று சரக்கு வாங்கினீங்கன்னா you can track the delivery online, and after the getting the thing sometimes they ask for your feedback. Anything you buy they will immediately ask for a feedback, 4 star, 5 star, 3 star and சொல்லி. If the thing is not okay, you can file a complaint online. Why can't we do this for all the government services also? At least main government கஷ்டமாக இருக்கலாம், பட் லோக்கல் பாடிஸ், சென்னை கார்பரேஷன், முனிசிபாலிட்டி, இதெல்லாம் டெஃபினட்டாக பண்ண முடியும். You should be able to track your, you apply for a death certificate or you apply for, not death certificate of yours, if somebody else's death certificate, you apply for either birth certificate, some other certificate, you should be able to track the delivery online. You should be able to file the complaints online. And you should be able to, people, some departments, some organizations have done it, but they've only taken baby steps. A lot more needs to be done. இப்போ நீங்கள் ஒரு ஹோட்டல், நீங்கள் ஒரு கடையில் போகிறீங்க, நீங்கள் வெளியில் வந்தோடனே ஒரு மெசேஜ் வருது, ப்ளீஸ் ரேட் யுவர் சர்வீசஸ் 5 ஸ்டாரில் ஒன்று கொடுங்க அப்படின்னு. ஆர் ஃபோன் பில் கட்டுறீங்க, இமீடியட்லி யூ கெட் அ மெசேஜ் சேயிங் ப்ளீஸ் ரேட் யுவர், ஆர் யூ சாட்டிஸ்ஃபைட் வித் திஸ்? Why can't Chennai Corporation do the same thing? Every time you come out of Chennai Corporation building, you should get a SMS saying, how was your experience with us? நம்ம ஆளுங்க அந்த மாதிரி இதில் தப்பெல்லாம் பண்ண மாட்டாருங்க. Then another transparency measure which we should all insist upon is, nowadays as you know, the parliament and the state legislative assembly proceedings are televised. You also know that Supreme Court and High Courts have started televising their proceedings. Why can't Corporation of Chennai or the municipalities, their proceedings be televised? Of course televised யாரும் போய் பார்க்க போகிறதில்ல, but at least they should videograph their meeting and upload it to their website, so that anybody who is interested can download the thing. நம்ம கவுன்சிலர் என்னதான் பேசினாங்க பார்ப்போம், ஒரு ஸ்வீட் காரம் காஃபி சாப்பிட்டு தூங்கிட்டு அப்படியே வந்துட்டாங்களா, இல்லாட்டி எதாலும் உருப்படியாக பேசினாங்களா அப்படின்னு சொல்லி you would like to know about your counselor. So that kind of thing has to be, we have to make it the norm. And even ஒரு டுக்கடா யூடியூப்பில் எவனோ ஒருத்தர் பேசுகிறான், அவனுக்கு ஒரு 2 lakh வியூஸு, ஃபாலோவர்ஸு, கமெண்ட்ஸு, சில பேர் அவனை திட்டி பேசுகிறாங்க, சில பேர் புகழ்ந்து பேசுகிறாங்க. சேம் திங் ஷுட் பி தேர் ஃபார் after the corporation's meeting is over. If you are uploading the meeting proceedings to the YouTube, people should comment. பரவாயில்ல, சேர்மன் மேயர் நல்லா பேசினாங்க, நம்ம வார்டு மெம்பர் நல்லா பேசினார், நம்ம அந்த வார்டு மெம்பர் தூங்கிட்டு இருந்தார் மீட்டிங்கில் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி people will You can comment, So all these things we should bring in to improve their efficacy. I'll come to something which overlaps with what I spoke the other day. The biggest problem today is our cities. Mahatma Gandhi kept on saying India lives in villages, India lives in villages, and the nelame mari, India lives in towns and varapogde, already vandachu. I don't know how many of you know this. May 23, 2007 was a significant day in human history. Significant in the sense that is the day the world's total urban population exceeded the total rural population. You know that human beings, anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens, originated in Africa about 2 lakh years ago. For nearly 1,90,000 years, they were nomadic hunter-gatherers. Then about 10,000 years ago, agriculture was discovered. They settled down in various villages. Slowly, villages became bigger and became towns, then became cities. But always, more people used to live in villages than in cities. But 2007, May, first time, the number of people living in cities in the world exceeded the number of people living in the villages. Okay. As I said, in 1800, only 6% of humans were city dwellers. Today, over 55% of the global population is urban. By 2050, it will become 67%, 2/3. India is still predominantly rural. Our urban population was 31% in 2011 in the census in Naratla, but we expect it to be about 36% now. For India to cross 50%, it will take 2050. 2050 kapra, Mahatma Gandhi's statement that India lives in its villages will no longer be true. More Indians will be living in cities than in villages. But when you look at other countries, China, for example, 64% population is urban. Russia, 75% is urban. Brazil, 87% is urban. Australia, 87% is urban. Iran, 77% is urban. Indonesia, 58% is urban. Japan, 92% urban. USA, 83%. UK, 84%. எதுக்கு இந்த பர்சன்டேஜ் சொல்கிறேன்னா 36% அர்பன் இருக்கிறப்பே நம்ம சிட்டிஸோட நிலைமை இப்படி இருக்கு. நாளைக்கு 80%, 60%, 90% ஆனால் என்ன ஆக போகுது? No, this is a question we should all be asking. According to me, the real threat to our existence is not nuclear bombs, this, that, அதெல்லாம் கிடையாது. The real threat is our cities can collapse because of poor management, lack of planning and all that. One example is already there with us, Bangalore. I mean, you all know how Bangalore has become. Now, among the bigger states, the top 3 in terms of percentage of urban population in 2011 were Tamil Nadu 48%, Kerala 47%, Maharashtra 45%. India as a whole 50% cross it may take 2050, but Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Maharashtra have already crossed 50%. This is a 2011 figure. In 2021, they would have crossed 50%. So we are already, Tamil Nadu is more urban than rural. There are 2 patterns of urbanization: dispersed urbanization and concentrated urbanization. Tamil Nadu's model is good. Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Maharashtra, there is dispersed urbanization. There are a lot of big cities. For example, Madras population is about 86 lakhs. Coimbatore is about 22 lakhs. The ratio is about 4:1. That's okay. Whereas in Karnataka, Bangalore population, next biggest city, Mysore population is about 9:1. Hyderabad population, next biggest city, Warangal ratio is about 11:1. West Bengal, Kolkata population is to next biggest city, Asansol population ratio 12:1. That is, Kolkata is 12 times bigger than the next second biggest city. So that means in certain states, most of the development has occurred only in the one city, the capital city. The other cities are not developed. Okay, Kolkata is like that, Bangalore is like that, Hyderabad is like that. If you remember, once upon a time, S.M. Krishna and Chandrababu Naidu are praised by the media, saying, Pramadama pantanga, Bangalore apdi pantanga, Hyderabad apdi pantanga. Avanga Bangalore mattum dhaan pannanga, Hyderabad mattum dhaan pannanga. That's why they lost the election. Whereas Tamil Nadu has always believed in balanced growth, not just of the capital city, but of all the cities. So one measure, BRL எடுத்தீங்கன்னா, Patna is only about 25 lakhs, Coimbatore அளவுக்கு இருக்கும் Patna, and the second city will be about 5 lakhs or something. Muzaffarpur or Gaya and all 5 lakhs. Highly rural. Now this is another important funda you should know. you should remember these three terms. That is, one is called Tier 1 city. It is a population more than 1 lakh. Metropolitan city, population more than 10 lakhs. And mega city, population more than 100 lakhs. That is 1 lakh, 10 lakhs, 100 lakhs. 1 lakh on a Tier 1 city. Metropolitan city is 10 lakhs. Mega city is 100 lakhs or 1 crore. Now, most of India's urban population is concentrated in the metropolitan cities. Population more than 10 lakhs, and the Tier 1 cities, population more than 1 lakh. Population growth in smaller cities has remained stagnant or come down. In fact, the Matta cities' population korajittirukke. Only the Periya city, I mean, like just as we say, the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The bigger cities are getting even bigger, the smaller cities are getting even smaller. Village population korajittirukke, sinna cities population korajittirukke. Now, there are many people who foolishly think that we should stop villages migrating to cities. Adu panna mudiyadhu. As I gave you the figures, world over, this is a phenomenon. People will migrate from villages to cities. Village area shrink aite varum, village population korajite varum, urban area koodite varum, urban population koodite varum. This is the worldwide phenomenon. You can't stop the migration. There are a lot of ill-informed debates saying we should stop this migration. Even President Abdul Kalam is a good man, a great man, no doubt, but he came up with a harebrained idea called PURA, provision of urban amenities in rural areas. He was under the impression, நீங்கள் urban amenities rural நல்ல ரோடு நல்ல இது போட்டு கொடுத்தீங்கன்னா மக்கள் கிராமத்தை விட்டு வர மாட்டாங்க. அப்படி ஒன்றும் கிடையாது. மக்கள் வேலைக்கு தேடி தான் இல்லாட்டி பெட்டர் லைஃப்பை தேடி வரா. அதை நீங்கள் தடுக்க முடியாது. ஸோ நீங்கள் நல்ல ரோடு போட்டு கொடுக்குறதுனால மக்கள் ஆர் நாட் கோயிங் டு ஸ்டே பேக் இன் த வில்லேஜஸ். There were 53 metropolitan cities in 2011, which accounted for 43% of total urban population. And I already said this, the political system in India was heavily biased towards the rural sector. Till about 2000, urban local bodies had very few schemes or function-specific grants. Now, the Manmohan Singh government in 2011, they set up a committee called the High Power Expert Committee to see urban cities. They realized that India has neglected cities for many years. என்ன பண்ண வேண்டியிருக்கு? Next 20 years, between 2011 and 2031, எத்தனை பணம் தேவைப்படும் to rejuvenate our cities? And the figure they arrived at was an astronomical 30 lakh crores. 30 lakh crores for 20 years. That means average of 1.5 lakh crores per year. இவ்வளோ செலவு பண்ணாதான் நம்ம சிட்டியை காப்பாற்ற முடியும். But you heard a lot about smart cities mission, Atal mission, Jawaharlal Nehru urban renewal mission அப்படினு சொல்லி நிறைய ஸ்கீம்ஸ் எல்லாம் கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கீங்க. Are we spending enough? No. Smart cities mission, for example, over 5 years, government is spending only about 2 lakh crores. Whereas government has to spend 1.5 lakh crores every year to rejuvenate our cities. So நம்ம போகிற வேகம் பத்தல. Even till this moment, cities are being neglected according to me. And big cities, at least something is konchaal nadakudhu. Small cities are completely neglected. For example, the smart cities mission covers only the 100 big cities. It doesn't cover the smaller cities. So our policy makers, both at the state level and the central level, should realize that there is a ticking time bomb in the form of a unbridled urban expansion. The bigger the city, the faster it will grow. And at one stage, if you don't watch out, services will collapse. Bangalore and the mari aipoche. I mean, traffic laning airport ponomana 2 hours agla, 1 hour agla, 3 hours agla. You can't predict. And at Google Map waste. Bangalore it won't work. But recently I read a WhatsApp joke about Bangalore. One chap comes to Bangalore in the airport. He rings up his friend in the city. Bro, where do you get a good biryani in Bangalore? He says, good biryani when you go to Hyderabad. Take a flight that is faster and you'll get a better biryani in Hyderabad than coming to Bangalore city. So, I mean, what Bangalore has become today, Chennai also can become if you don't watch out. Now, you know this, major sectors of urban development requiring investment: roads, transport, traffic support, street lighting, water supply, sewerage, stormwater drains, solid waste management, primary healthcare. Not all of them are with Chennai Corporation. For example, traffic support may be with the police. In Chennai, water supply and sewerage is with Metro Water. Education, green infrastructure, social welfare, local public works, affordable housing, firefighting, renewal of slum development, capacity building. The above listing is illustrative, not exhaustive. Now you can see this picture. Bangalore is the world's second most congested city. Average speed is 20.7 kilometers. நீங்கள் சும்மா ரோல்ஸ் ராய்ஸோ இல்லாட்டி லம்பர்கினி வாங்கி ஒன்றும் யூஸ் இல்லை, நீங்கள் போகிற ஸ்பீடு 20 தான். அதுக்கு மேலே மாருதி டிசைர் வாங்கிட்டாலே போதும் பெங்களூரில். ஸோ திஸ் இஸ் த கேஸ் ஆஃப் Bangalore city. Now you must have read this news item recently. 65 Indian cities in the top 100 cities in the world in terms of air pollution. Top 10 la there are 6 Indian cities world. Top 20 la 14, top 50 la 39, top 100 la 65. And many of them are in North India. They are not big cities also. At least in the Bangalore, the mari periya city okade sadhana city da. Still they are polluted. The reason is there is lax enforcement of pollution control norms. Now 45% of India's urban population lives in slums. Most of us don't get to see slums. We see only the regular there. But slums are hidden from our eyes most of the time. 49% of the people live in slums. Now our idea of developing a slum is to அதை எடுத்துகிட்டு இவங்களை எங்கேயோ தூரமாக கொண்டு போய் அங்கே எங்கேயும் இறக்கி விட்டுருவாங்க. அவன் அந்த வீடை வாடகைக்கு விட்டு இல்லாட்டி பூட்டிட்டு மறுபடியும் இங்கே வந்துடுவான், இன்னொரு இடத்துல போடுவான். And moreover his livelihood is here, you can't shift them there. So these days the thinking is the correct method of rehabilitating slum dwellers is what is called in situ development. That is அவங்கள அங்கேயே rehabilitate பண்ணும். Build tall structures and the structuresல ஷாப்பிங் கீப்பிங் இதெல்லாம் எல்லாமே ப்ரொவைட் பண்ணி ஒரு இதாக இருக்கும். நம்ம ஆளுங்க தமிழ்நாட்டிலையும் நிறைய சிட்டிஸில் 3-4 மாடிக்கு மேலே கட்ட மாட்டான். ஏன் சொல்லுங்க பார்க்கலாம்? பிகாஸ் they don't want to provide lifts to the slum. இவனுக்கெல்லாம் என்ன லிஃப்ட் வேணும் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு திங்கிங். whereas you should build buildings with 10, 20, 30 floors and provide lifts and provide all the amenities. So we have a serious problem of slums also. Only 75 to 80% of the total municipal waste in India gets collected, and only 22 to 28% of this is processed and treated. Chennai city is one of the better cities. It recycles about 40% of its waste. They make, if it is organic waste, they convert it into manure, sell it to the public. If it is construction waste, construction debris, they break it further and convert it into sand and stones. They sell it again. And so Chennai city, and they also the organic waste, they produce gas from that, compressed natural gas, they produce from that and sell it. So waste can be treated, but many of our cities are not doing that. Next, India generates 72,368 MLD of urban wastewater. Only 28% is treated, 72% is disposed of in rivers, lakes or ground. Mundina pesnadu solid waste. Now I am talking about liquid waste. It's called sewage and sillage. Only 28% is treated, remaining 72% அப்படியே விட்டுறாங்க. அப்படியே விடுறதுனால என்ன ஆகுது? நம்ம rivers and lakes have all got completely degraded. If you look at, there was a story that once upon a time Pachappa's college fame, he used to have bath in Kuam and then go to work. இப்போ நீங்கள் கூமில் குளிக்க முடியாது. All the 3 Chennai rivers are, no, before that, India ranks 120th among 122 countries in water quality index, says Niti Aayog. Water quality is very bad because of all this. 3 Chennai rivers are dead, nothing can bring them back to life. This is a recent story. I don't know, நீங்கள் யூடியூப்பில் போட்டு நான் அனுப்புவது கடிதமல்லன்னு ஒரு சிவாஜி பாட்டு இருக்குது. அதை பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அது 1965 என்னமோ, பிளாக் அண்ட் ஒயிட்டு. பட் சிவாஜி கூவமில் போட்டில் போயிட்டுருக்காரு, பாடிட்டே போகிறாரு. So the point there is, number 1, Kuam was very clean that time, and number 2, on both sides of the Kuam you find dense vegetation. Or river, lake or cleaner, the essential thing is there should be dense vegetation on either side of the river for about 50 to 100 meters. And the vegetation pochana, the river is gone, the lake is gone. Ipo Chennai, as you know, the construction has come right up to the river bank. In fact, people have incurred inside the river also, or inside the Buckingham Canal also. Chennai floods 2015, I think you all lived through it. The next is Chennai drought 2019. All the 4 drinking water reservoirs became empty, dry. It is called Chennai's Day Zero. I am not trying to paint a negative picture here. These are all real facts. I am only quoting you real things, real pictures. The point I am trying to underline here is, first, either due to Gandhian influence or because most of our leaders were hailed from rural areas, there was a distinct pro-rural areas bias in Indian planning. Up to 2000, there were virtually no schemes for urban areas. Urban areas were left to fend for themselves. That's Bangalore, Chennai, now government of India has realized that urban areas are more important. State governments have also realized. Tamil Nadu is still far better than many other states, but I'm saying we also have a problem. So the state of your rivers, the state of your lakes is an indicator. I mean, whether, and if our air quality is better, it's because we are by the sea, not because of the inland. So because of all these reasons, now my point is this: India's urban population percentage is only 36%. 50% ஆகிறதுக்கு 2050 ஆகும். பட் தமிழ்நாடு ஆல்ரெடி 50% ஆயிடுச்சு. 36% இருக்கிறப்ப நிலைமை இப்படி இருந்ததுன்னா 50%, 70%, 90% ஆனால் என்ன ஆக போகுது? You get the point? So here I told you what a typical city needs. A typical city needs many things, but one thing our city planners and others have neglected completely is what I would call green infrastructure. For example, Chennai Corporation, they have 350 engineers and 3 horticulturists. What does this show? That they are thinking only in terms of grey infrastructure, building, road, bridge, flyover. Idada yoshchitrukan thavara greenery patti unakku yosane illa. He is not interested. Now it will be interesting to see this green cover in various Indian cities. Mumbai has the highest percentage, 25%, Hyderabad 12%, Delhi 12.6%. You may think that Delhi kammiya thonade, but area wise Delhi is bigger, 1500 square kilometers. So adala 12.6%. So Bangalore 6.8%. Once upon a time Bangalore had 60% green cover. Now it has become 6.8%. Chennai 5.3%, Ahmedabad 2%, Calcutta 1%. This is miserable. It means nama green cover patti nama kavale padla. Whereas look at some of the great cities around the world. They are also metropolitan cities. Oslo, capital of Norway, 68%. Vienna 50%. Singapore 47%. Sydney 46%. Shenzhen 41%. Hong Kong 40%. Rome 39%. Los Angeles 35%, London 33%, Beijing 31%, Seoul is 28%, Barcelona 28%, New York 27%, Moscow 18%, Montreal 13%, Paris 10%, Tokyo 7.5%. Compare the Indian cities with these cities. You might have noticed that Paris is low, 10%. They are aware of it. In fact, they have taken a determined effort. They are making determined efforts to go from 10% to 50% in the next 10 or 20 years. 50% நாங்கள் ரீச் பண்ண போகிறோம்னு சொல்லி they have taken a determined இது. They are doing massive tree plantation. சென்னை சிட்டியில் நிறைய ஓப்பன் ஸ்பேஸ் ரிசர்வ் இந்த OSR லேண்ட்ஸ்ன்னு இருக்குது. பிலாங்ஸ் டு த கார்பரேஷன். இவன் நம்ம ஆளுங்க அதை அப்படியே வேஸ்ட் பண்ணி கண்டவங்களை என்க்ரோச் பண்ணிட்டு போவான். First, all of them should be planted with trees, converted into urban forests or something. River ஓரமா, on the either side of the river, you should do massive plantation. They are doing it. In fact, one of my regrets is when I was Secretary Rural Development, it didn't strike me. The idea எனக்கு அப்போ தோணல. இந்த NREJ நரேகா ஸ்கீமில் இந்த பிளான்ட் செடி கட்டி நடுறதெல்லாம் ஈஸியாக பண்ணிருக்கலாம். ஸோ we could have planted on both sides of the river. இந்த ரூரல் ஏரியாஸ் த கூவம்லையோ அடையாறு எல்லாமே நம்ம பண்ணியிருக்கலாம். பிகாஸ் இந்த நீங்கள் செடி நட்டாலே the river will become cleaner. Even the lake கூட you should plant trees around the lake. Otherwise சும்மா ஒரு ட்ரெட்ஜ் பண்ணி இந்த க்ளீன் பண்ணிட்டோன்னு சொன்னால் பிரயோஜனம் இல்லை. வித்தின் 1 month it will become dirty again. No, that's what I said. நம்ம கார்பரேஷன்ஸ் எல்லாமே they have a grey infrastructure bias. Buildings இதுதான் பண்ணிட்டுருக்கான் தவிர they are not doing green infrastructure. Okay, so now if you do green infrastructure, that is what is meant by green infrastructure. I'll just show you the pictures. Green infrastructure is green roofs. And a public space in a city is only about 30 to 40%. அதில் நீங்கள் எவ்வளோ செடி நட்டாலும் பத்தாது. மக்கள் முன் வந்து அந்த 40% 50% கூட இது பண்ணோம். So for example, these are called green roofs. And most of the big cities இந்த மாதிரி ரூஃப்லலாம் கார்டனில் போட்டிருப்பான். You may think that இதுக்கெல்லாம் பணம் வேணுமே, இந்தியாவில் இருக்கா இல்லையான்னு சொல்லி. Let me tell you one thing. Money is always there in India. The problem with India is not paucity of resources, it is misapplication of resources, of throwing good money after bad schemes. That is our problem. Next is green walls. Next is constructed wetlands. There is what is called natural wetlands on the side of the river. Adala poche. Adanalda you have floods and you have dirty rivers and all that. So you must, if you want to protect the river, protect the lake, you must construct artificial wetlands around the lake or along the river. Planter boxes. நீங்கள் ரோடுக்கு நடுவில் பார்த்துருப்பீங்க, மீடியன்னு செடி நட்டால் நல்லாயிருக்கும். சில ரோட்டில் அக்லி கான்க்ரீட் ஸ்ட்ரக்சர்ஸ் இருக்கும், அது இருக்கவே கூடாது. யூ ஷுட் த்ரோ தட் அவுட் அண்ட் கீப் த planter boxes. Even however narrow it may be, you should have planter boxes. Bioswales is nothing but a fancy name for ditch. Rain garden. வீட்டில் நம்ம வீட்டில் பின்னால் ஓப்பன் ஸ்பேஸ் இருந்தால் many of us tile it, don't allow the water to percolate. Actually you should make it into a rain garden or any garden. Urban forest, I told you, wherever there is open space, you must put up a dense forest. You might have heard of this Miyakavi forest in Kelipattrupinga. Now this is what Paris is doing. It is putting up urban forest. Any space of open land available, that's putting up an urban forest. Then avenue trees. This is a Bangalore photo. Bangalore once upon a time used to have excellent avenue trees. ஒரு மரம் இருந்தாலே போதும், மழை அதை roots absorb பண்ணும், flow குறையும், flooding குறையும். You know, and many trees have this habit of, have the capability of absorbing pollution. You know, they can absorb pollution, clean the air. Gardens and parks, you've seen that. Then this is what is called pocket parks in countries like Holland and Netherlands and Belgium and France and Spain and all that. எங்கே குட்டியுண்ட இடம் கிடைச்சாலும் கூட they put up a park. நிறைய ரோடை க்ளோஸ் பண்ணி they put up a park. They are called pocket parks. Parking site எல்லாம் எடுத்து they put up a park. So எங்கே சான்ஸ் கிடைச்சாலும் they put up a park there. Permeable pavements, don't know, you can see யூடியூப்பில் நீங்கள் கூகுள் பண்ணி பார்க்கலாம். பேமெண்ட்ஸில் நீங்கள் தண்ணி விட்டிங்கன்னா அதை உடனே சுறுசுறுன்னு ஸ்பாஞ்ச் மாதிரி உறிஞ்சிக்கும். ஸோ தோஸ் கைண்ட் ஆஃப் பேமெண்ட்ஸ் ஆர் whereas in a normal road, you might have seen as you walk along the road, you can see end to end it is paved. You have the footpaths, concrete footpaths, tar road. ஸோ தண்ணி உள்ளே போகிறதுக்கே வழி இல்லை. ஸோ தண்ணி எப்படி நேச்சுரலி கொஞ்சம் மழை வந்தாலே you will have an urban flood. So the solution is permeable pavements. Now, this is not really green, but this is called green technology. Another is underground stormwater vault. That is, மழை வந்தால் rainwater harvesting, you store the water in a barrel or a cistern or something. சிட்டியில் சில லோ லையிங் ஏரியாஸ் இருக்கும், எல்லா தண்ணி அங்கே வந்து கூடும். அந்த லோ லையிங் ஏரியா கீழே you put an underground vault and the water will be stored there. Okay, the last concept I would like to talk is what is called mega city. I told you already, tier 1 city is 1 lakh, metropolitan city is 10 lakhs, mega city is 100 lakhs or 1 crore. The growth of mega cities, that is urban agglomerations with a population greater than 1 crore, is the most striking feature of 20th and 21st century. A mega city typically comprises a metropolitan city at its core and an extended metropolitan area which may sometimes extend up to 50 to 100 kilometers. For example, if you take Chennai, Chennai city is 426 square kilometers. But Chennai metropolitan area, which CMDA looks after, it is about 5,000 square kilometers. That is parts of Kanchipuram, Chengalpet, Ranipet, all these districts come under this. The idea is the city is growing in these areas, other metropolitan area and சொல்லி declare பண்றாங்க. In 1965, there were only 2 megacities in the world, New York and Tokyo. Now in 2015, there are 35 megacities globally. Most of them are in Asia, where they form a significant proportion of the national urban population. For example, Bangkok 50%, Seoul 33%, Jakarta 20%. That is 50% of the urban population in Thailand lives in Bangkok city alone. 33% of the urban population of South Korea lives in Seoul, the capital city alone. இதில் 2 பிரச்சனை இருக்குது. ஒன்று, சிட்டி கண்ணாமண்ணான்னு வளர்ந்துட்டுருக்கு. இன்னொன்று, ஒரு லா அண்ட் ஆர்டர் ப்ராப்ளம், பப்ளிக் எஜிடேஷன் ஆச்சுன்னா கவர்மெண்ட்டுக்கு ஆபத்து. இத்தனை மக்கள் அங்கே பேங்காக்கில் அதான் நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அடிக்கடி அங்கே எஜிடேஷன் நடந்துகிட்ருக்கோம். Because so many people are there in the city. In 2015, India had 5 megacities: Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore and Chennai. Indian megacities grew so rapidly and unexpectedly that governments and urban planners could only play catch-up. The problems are overwhelming. For example, Bangalore, 38% of the Karnataka's urban population is in Bangalore alone. The next is Mysore city, 9%, Hubli, Dharwad, 9%, Bangalore is only about 5%. So Tamil Nadu அப்படி இல்லை. So this graph shows you the world's megacities you will see that most of them are in Asia. At the moment, Tokyo is the biggest megacity, 37 million, that is 3.7 crores people. Delhi is fast catching up. Beijing is big. Manila, Shanghai, Dhaka, Calcutta, Mumbai, they're all catching up. In fact, the Western world has fewer megacities now. Now, நான் எதுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன்னா, உங்கள் சின்ன சிட்டியே நம்மளால் மேனேஜ் பண்ண முடியாட்டி, 37% பாப்புலேஷனுக்கு போய் நம்மளால் மேனேஜ் பண்ண முடியாட்டி, இந்த சிட்டி பெருசானதுக்கப்புறம் நம்ம எப்படி மேனேஜ் பண்ண போகிறோம்? திஸ் இஸ் த கொஸ்டின் வி மஸ்ட் ஆல் ஆஸ்க். I think our urban, our politicians, our leaders, I mean, at all levels, at the city level, at the state level, I'm not talking of Tamil Nadu alone, I'm talking of India as a whole. People have not understood the gravity of the problem, the gravity of the situation. The problem with these megacities is, as I said, Chennai metropolitan area எடுத்திங்கன்னா அங்கே சென்னை கார்பரேஷன் வரும், பல முனிசிபாலிட்டி வரும், பல வில்லேஜ் வரும், அது இது வரும், அதை மேனேஜ் பண்ணுறது, டெவலப் பண்ணுறது கஷ்டம். So the single biggest problem, as I said, to continue, is that we are going to face is how we'll manage our cities. Okay, this is the defining problem of the 21st century. With that, I'll conclude my lecture. Thank you.
உன் கடவுளை விட, உன் சாஸ்திரத்தை விட, உன் முன்னோரை விட, உன் வெங்காயம் வழக்கமாத்தை விட, உன் அறிவு பெருசு, அதை சிந்தி.